Kia ora, Ayubowan. Welcome to the Sri Lanka's YouTube channel. We are the digital home of the Sri Lankan Newspaper, the only Sri Lankan community paper in New Zealand. It is widely distributed across the entire country. Thank you for joining us. We often take our mobility for granted until it becomes a challenge. For those living with chronic inflammation, finding a path back to normal life requires a specialist who understands the intricate balance of the human body. Our guest today is a distinguished consultant rheumatologist and fellow of the Royal Australasian College of Physicians and fellow of the Royal College of Physicians in UK. He has spent over 40 years across Sri Lanka, the United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, and right here in Wellington, helping patients regain mobility and quality of life. He has shaped the landscape of New Zealand medicine, serving as the president of the Rheumatology Association for several years. From 1996 to 2007, he managed the Wellington Regional Rheumatology Unit at the Hutt Hospital. He was a long-standing lecturer at the University of Otago and previously an associate professor of King Khalid University in Saudi Arabia. He is a well-known voice for health education and a leader within the Sri Lankan community. In 2007, he was appointed a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit by the Queen for his services to medicine and the Sri Lankan community. It is a true privilege to welcome Dr. Chula Rajapakse to the channel today. Doctor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Ayubowan. So, Doctor, you began your medical journey in Sri Lanka, trained in the United Kingdom, established a unit in Saudi Arabia, and have spent decades in New Zealand. How have these different cultural and medical environments shaped the approach to patient care?
First of all, thank you, Yasudha, for having come all the way for this interview and offered this honor. And thank you to the Sri Lankan newspaper for sponsoring this. And it's an appropriate time for me to congratulate this newspaper for what they're doing and what they're continuing to do. And finally, thank you very much for that generous introduction. Yes, you're right. I have had the privilege of working in 4 different countries and have been exposed to a number of different groups of people, Sri Lankans. The United Kingdom, I worked both in teaching hospitals in London and Manchester, and that exposed me to different groups of population in the United Kingdom. Then in Saudi Arabia, it's a melting pot of everybody. There are about maybe 40-50% Saudis and the rest all expatriates. They vary from people from Europe, from America, a lot of them from America, Germany, UK, and then of course South Asia, the Filipinos, the Indians, Bangladeshis. So when I came here, I already had been in a melting pot. So that knowledge of the way of thinking of lots of people has been very helpful. And so I didn't really feel a huge change because I was continuing with the immigrants from the United Kingdom. And then little by little, the number of non-UK immigrants increased in this country. In Wellington, when I first came, I think the number of Asian immigrants was very low, but little by little it became quite large. So these experiences certainly helped me. And when people ask me, what about the cultural shock? How did you have? Did it take you a lot to adapt? The answer is no, because we and my family were already adapted to a pretty much a large spectrum of the people of this planet.
Doctor, as a former president of the New Zealand Rheumatology Association, what do you see as your proudest achievement in changing how we treat arthritis in this country?
See, when I became president of the New Zealand Rheumatology Association at the turn of the millennium, basically, 1999, I think, we had about 15 rheumatologists for the whole of this country, which was quite small compared to the international recommendations. Australia had about 100. We only had this amount. So one of my biggest challenges was to contribute to the increase in the cadre of rheumatologists in this country. Others have tried before, but I spent a lot of time doing that. I gathered information. We were lucky that we had international recommendations saying that there should be a rheumatologist for every 80,000 people, and we didn't have one for even 200,000 in some areas. So that was a big argument, and medical administrators, when you place before them evidence-based requirements, they don't challenge it. So I actually prepared a big document and distributed it to the health ministry and the health and the sections, showing that we are grossly understaffed in rheumatology. I mean, it doesn't change in a day, but over the years now, I think we must have about 100. And so I am quietly happy that maybe the trend that I started has had some impact on that. But I must at this stage also recall that when I was president of the Rheumatology Association, Annette King was our Minister of Health, and Annette King would come to our Sri Lankan functions, and I have a feeling that she really was quite kind to us, and she was very kind to me as a president, and she helped me in a number of ways.
We have an aging population in New Zealand, so actually, do you think we are okay with the number of rheumatologists in New Zealand for this aging population? Because arthritis, kicks in as we grow old.
See, now that's the point that I think needs clarification. There are two basic types of arthritis.
Mm-hmm.
One is what we call inflammatory arthritis, where at any age, 2-year-olds, they can get inflammation triggered by immune mechanisms, and rheumatoid arthritis is the best example of that. So our brief is mainly, we deal a lot with this inflammatory arthritis, which affects a lot of any age group, and once you get that, we certainly can make a huge dent in their progression, though we don't actually cure most of it, but we can make them continue life with very little disability. Now, the other arthritis you're talking about is osteoarthritis, which is by far the commonest one. It affects every dictum with age. Now, that is, we still don't have great answers to that. And managing that is a multidisciplinary management. We can give some leads, but the GP comes in, patient education comes in, exercises come in. So it's a very multidisciplinary thing, and then of course in the final it's like a wasting of a tire. You manage the tire while it's as long as you can, preventing it from wasting further, and then you replace it. So when the osteoarthritis has reached that next stage, and the orthopedic surgeons come in. So we contribute something, but we are only a small peg in a big spoke wheel. Whereas the inflammatory arthritis, we have certainly a very big role to play.
Thank you for clarifying. So, Doctor, you have long been a generous supporter of the Stokes Valley Monastery and the Dhammakaya Meditation Center. Do you view this involvement as a core part of your spiritual journey? And do you find that it enriches your professional life as well?
Yes, I do. The short answer is yes. I can tell you that before I came to settle in New Zealand, they got me down from Saudi Arabia for an interview. And that was in the March. And when I came here, after the business was over, the late Deepthi Vijaysekar, who was the wife of my classmate Rohit, she took me around Wellington, and one of the places she took me was to the Stokes Valley Monastery, and I met Reverend Veeradama, who was there at the time. So that was a very significant factor that prompted me and my family to decide to come here, because I have grown up in a Buddhist environment where we concentrate a lot, not so much on the rituals, but on things like meditation. And so links with Buddhism was an important thing. And when I saw that was very reassuring to me. And the first place we went, one of the first places, was to the Stokes Valley. And when Malkanti was young, she used to take Dana even once a week with a little baby, 1 year old. At that time they didn't have that big sala. They only had that small house. So she would climb up. Sometimes I'm there, sometimes not. And she would take the baby as well as the food and go up to that upstairs, that house. So it certainly contributed. And then later, when DTMC was established, I suddenly found myself equidistant from both. If you look at Petone, I am 15 minutes from both these places. So I consider it a very big privilege, and I tried to do my best to make the best use of that for myself and for the family. My boys used to, in their late teenagers as medical students, they would go regularly to the Sunday meditation, the two of them. And they were well known there at that time. So it certainly played a very big part.
Talking about your family, moving a family across the world is a massive undertaking. When you had first arrived in New Zealand, you did mention a little bit before, but if you could elaborate, what was the biggest culture shock? You said there wasn't much because you were familiar with most of the people because you worked in Saudi Arabia and the United Kingdom. How did you work together to make Wellington or Hutt your home?
Yes, so yes, I mean, I didn't want to make it a shock, because we used to, when we were in Riyadh, we get 2 months of full paid leave, and they pay us for the whole family to go anywhere in the world. So we were quite used to going for long international holidays. So we basically treated this as another holiday. So till we settled down. But like the boys, they have been used to international schools. So they were very familiar with the cultures of places like New Zealand. So it was not a big, and then I had to accept that. But whenever we went to a different country, we lived in UK, Saudi Arabia, and here we look for Sri Lankan community, and that's reassuring, And I accessed that Sri Lankan community through USLA. So that was another good backup, and one of the people I have to mention is Dr. Ubedas. Ubeda was very supportive.
You've been a champion for the Sri Lankan community. How important was it for you and your family to maintain your cultural roots while fully embracing the Kiwi way of life?
Well, you put it well. I mean, it was very important. We were doing a double act. We had to blend with the new environment, which we had already done so many times over. The UK, Manchester, London, and then in Saudi Arabia, and so we blended here. But the fact that we had that backup grounding in our Buddhist way of life, as well as the Sri Lankan community, gives you the good base, but the grounding to do the next bits. So that was very important, and I think it's very important for a lot of people. It depends, I suppose, on the person, but for us it was very important.
Yeah, so you adapted well, and your children, I remember your children taking part in these cultural events as well.
They did. When they were here, I mean, they were very much a part of the USLA activities. They took part in that, and of course, much more with the Soaks Valley Monastery.
Yeah, that's nice to hear.
Mm.
Behind every successful specialist is a support network. How did your family's resilience allow you to take on a high pressure role like the presidency of the New Zealand Rheumatology Association?
Yes, you're right. The support network is important. And the support network for me started from home. And the home, it was my wife. Because she was a solid rock, really, who carried the home fires burning, whilst I spent very little time at home, in fact, So, and she would look after the house, she'd look after the children, she brought up the children, I didn't do anything. And that the confidence of knowing that everything was running smoothly, whilst I used to do a 60-hour working week, and then I come home. At one stage, I had two babies, the New Zealand Rheumatology Association, and then defending USLA in the media. So and I used to do these defending activities late into the night, because I would access the newspapers, and you access the newspapers 10 times and you get some publicity once. So there was a lot of effort going into that, and it is the support network that from home in the first instance, and also in the community there were quite a lot of people who really backed me well. I already mentioned Uber and a few others like that, the Vijay Morgan, a few of them who we thought like Pali, all of so those supports are also was very helpful.
Yeah, I remember when I was part
And of course,
United Sri Lanka Association. Yeah. Some of the emails we received were like early in the morning, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. and we were wondering, so he was,
Yes, I know, because
effectively
I could do those things at night and the weekend.
Yeah. So rheumatology involves a lot of emotional labor, dealing with patients with chronic pain. When you walk through your front door at the end of the day, do you have a ritual or mindset that helps you switch off the doctor and switch on the husband and the father?
Well, to be frank with you, I wish I had that more. I did not have that. I can remember Mark Gandhi saying that Jim Bolger, former Prime Minister, he was quoted in an interview saying that when he walked through the front door, he left everything behind and it was family. But I didn't do that. I couldn't do that because Jim Bolger might have been doing one job, that's Prime Minister. I was doing a job, then I was doing other associations. Those are things that are done outside the job. So really, the only time we actually switched off was when we were out of this country on a holiday. That's when we had a family life. Somewhere in Saudi Arabia, we were used to two months a year. That's quite a long time for international holidays. Here we didn't have that privilege, but at least for one month, we would get away. And that's the time that I would do what you said just now.
So you wouldn't, when you see patients, so many patients, like I said, in pain, you wouldn't bring that home, would you?
I don't bring that home necessarily, but sometimes they follow you home. When you know that now I am still working in private practice part-time, right? But even when I was in Sri Lanka, I get phone calls from them. At this day and age, you can address that from wherever you are. I mean, a lot of people do remote working, and even in medicine, this remote working is not. It's to a large extent it's possible. You don't actually lay your hands, but 90% of your diagnosis is based on the history. And if you want, you can have a video consult. So those are available wherever you are.
It's interesting you say that they follow you.
Yes, they do.
With such a demanding career, what are your non-negotiables for spending time with family and maintaining your own well-being?
Yes, well, one non-negotiable. I certainly always put aside time every day for exercise. I did that. I mean, I used to go running. Even today, before you all came, I spent half an hour doing my exercise regime. That's very important. So that was one of the non-negotiable things. But otherwise, family time was compromised. And the only time we didn't compromise it was when we were away.
Mm. What is the most important lesson about balance or hard work that you hope your children have learned from watching your career?
See, this is interesting. For us as Sri Lankans growing up, we modeled our professional careers based on what we saw, our teachers. Now, you might have heard of a doctor called Dr. P.R. Antonis.
Yeah.
Now, Antonis, he was our teacher, he was a surgeon. Even in his late 80s, he was learning new surgical techniques. He died at 92, and I think even then he was operating. So those are the role models that we grew up with in medicine. So really, we work-life balance was a concept that we didn't know. The first time I learned about work-life balance was from my children. It's their generation. They won't stand this. They won't stand the type of hammering that I took. And in fact, Suresh, our youngest son, he works only 4 days a week. He has never worked 5 days a week. But I have never worked less than 5.5 days a week. And I remember one chap who was a sort of an investment advisor went to meet him, and then he told me later that, yes, I spoke to your son, and I told him that the way your dad works. So he had told him he's from the old school.
Talking about Sri Lanka, Doctor, you were a former president of the United Sri Lanka Association, a long-time spokesperson for the association and for the Sri Lankan community when the country was in a crisis. How do you find the energy to lead a medical unit and still have the time to be a spokesperson for your motherland whenever there is a crisis?
See, if you have a passion, you don't get tired. If you respond to a passion, you don't get tired. I mean, a lot of people are waiting to retire because they're not really involved. They don't find that work the most stimulating thing. So if you find your work the most stimulating thing, and then you have a passion of defending a country against false misinformation, then 3 o'clock in the night and 9 a.m. starting is not a big set. I can tell you, when I first came to this country in 1988, within a few weeks or months, we saw a big photograph in the New Zealand Herald, Auckland paper, big photograph in the front page of a man and woman, Asian looking, and the caption was, "Tiger unites with his bride." So he was held like a hero. And I know what they have been doing. So I thought, this is ridiculous. You can't let this kind of thing go. So that is one of the things I had already started writing to the papers in Saudi Arabia, but things like that, and the fact that they were getting away with a lot of things which were blatantly untrue. That's what stimulated me, and I spent a lot of hours. Dom Post was very good. There was an editor called Carty. I met her several times. I showed her pictures. So they became convinced that this is a position that needs to be changed, and they supported me whenever I wrote things for a long time.
I did remember reading some of those, editorial stuff, and also the how you defended the country. There were many articles from you. Thank you. In 2007, you were appointed a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit by the Queen for your services to rheumatology and the Sri Lankan community. What drives your passion for dispelling stereotypes and fostering community leadership?
I think the passion comes from the fact that I'm not prepared to let blatant untruths go unchallenged. And I mean, these tiger power. Now, it's bad to talk about these things now. I don't like that. I don't like that because I'm never anti-Tamil. If you look at my wedding photograph, our wedding photograph, there one of them is James Murray Dawson, the Tamil. I had lots of Tamil friends, very good Tamil friends. But the kind of misinformation propaganda, I really could not allow it to happen. And I had the capacity in my position and all to be able to defend it. And I don't know, I think I have some linguistic skills in English. So I exploited that to the full because I felt that this cannot, you can't keep, one cannot keep the mouth shut when blatant untruths are said and repeatedly said so.
That was a time that, we all were very grateful to you because you were the voice for all of us, all Sri Lankans. So, would like to get some advice from you for the youth actually. Many young people today feel a push and pull between their cultural heritage and the pressure to succeed in a Western professional world. Having successfully navigated both, what advice do you have for you on how to stay true to their roots while reaching the top of their field?
You're absolutely right. There are two pulls. One is the new pull, and the other is your original pull. And the young people have to, probably my advice is to appreciate that they are not contradictory. They are complementary. It is your original pull that gives you the stability to counter. And speaking for myself, I was always conscious that I was a beneficiary of free education. I don't think my father paid more than $4 rupees a month for my entire education till I became a medical doctor. Things may have changed now, but so for me at least, there was a very strong sense of debt of gratitude which I have to pay back. And different people, depending on their position in life, pay it back in different ways. For me, defending this country in the way I did was the way I could do best. And that's what I do. And even now, when things have changed, I support every community activity that goes on. I go to Sri Lanka and with the family, we spend a lot of money. But in doing so, I'm conscious that I'm contributing to the welfare of the people in the travel industry. That's the way I look at it. So I would recommend to young people, always be mindful of what you got, and keeping that in mind in your new endeavors is not a complimentary, not a contradiction.
Yeah, it's complimentary. Yeah. You're a firm believer that we owe something back to the community that supports us and to our motherland, just like you just said now. Yeah, so my question relates to what you said just now. Why should a young person who is already building a career make time for volunteering and advocacy?
I think that again, I would recommend to them to look back and see what you owe, and also be mindful that the greatest joy, when you're young you don't realize this, but actually as you get older you realize that the greatest joy that one gets is from seeing others happy. When you come to my age, when we can't do much, that's the biggest, that's how we get most of our joy. But when you're young, you get joy by doing things, true. But be mindful that to pause for a moment and think that joy comes even more when you emanate joy to others.
True. Great advice. If you could go back and speak to the young Chula, just starting his medical degree in Sri Lanka, what is the one piece of life advice you would give?
Yes, that's interesting. Yes, I said I had no work-life balance, and maybe I I would say a little bit more work-life balance. But one other thing I would say is that I really did not appreciate the amount of support I got from her country, So that's, and I think most men, Sri Lankan men, especially with the cultural background, they take it for granted that a man, and that's the role that we have been brought up. Man brings the bread home, and the wife looks after the home. But we don't pay enough attention to the amount that they contribute. So, and I appreciate what Malkante did now, but at that time I probably did not appreciate enough. And if I was to, and she would tell me that, and I would pay no heed. So if I was to give advice, I would say pay more attention to what you're getting from your wife.
Great advice for the youth. So before we wrap up, Doctor, is there anything else you would like to say to our viewers?
Well, I think New Zealand has become a very, very nice place to live in, quite frankly, and for the Sri Lankan community, the numbers are large, but the economy is not the best. So for the Sri Lankan viewers, what I would say, yes, you're lucky, you're in a good place. Make the best of it. You will have challenges. It's nothing in life is smooth sailing, and you have to adapt. And like what we were talking about earlier, you have to adapt depending on seize the opportunity and adapt.
So true. But before I let you go, Doctor, I have a quick rapid fire round for you.
Oh.
This is to get to know Chula, the person, not the Dr. Rajapakse, the specialist. So no overthinking, just the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Night, definitely night owl.
Best place in Hutt or Wellington for a quiet walk?
I would walk on the riverbank actually.
Hutt?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sri Lankan curry or classic New Zealand roast?
Both.
What's one book, medical or otherwise, that you think everyone should read?
I do very little reading. And the only book I do a lot of my information from this, but I'll be very frank with you, the only book I have read in recent times is that book called Gota's War, which was written by Chandra Perumal. I don't know, I completed it, but I got a few other books which I never read.
Stethoscope or garden shears? Which do you find more therapeutic?
Stethoscope.
Stethoscope? Mm-hmm. What's the one word you hope your patients use to describe?
Well, that's an interesting thing. Maybe affable.
Affable. Tea or coffee?
Tea, definitely tea.
If you hadn't become a doctor, what career would you have chosen?
Well, I can't imagine I was bent up. Maybe a scientist, I don't know.
But in that area, yeah. Interesting. It is rare to find someone who can balance the rigors of specialist medicine with such deep roots in community, advocacy and family life. Doctor, you have given us a wonderful blueprint for how to pursue excellence in a profession without losing sight of the people and cultures that ground us. Doctor, thank you for reminding us that whether it is in a clinic in Wellington or as a voice for the Sri Lankan community, one person's dedication can truly move the needle. We appreciate everything you have done for our community. Thank you for the wisdom and for the decades of care you have provided to the people in New Zealand and Sri Lanka. Thank you for your time, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Aibor.